Hi, welcome to the 4th episode in Decorate My Cloud Island with me series. In today's episode we are going to be building the trunk of a large tree. Creating this tree will be separated into 2 videos, with this first one focused on the trunk and the area around the roots, and the second part will show you how to create the canopy for the tree. I'm pretty excited to show you how to create these trees. I've made a few around my pallet town and I absolutely love how they turn out. To begin with, I put a wireless transmitter in the base of these roots. These roots were built in my last video but are pretty simple and just wrap around the moss blocks and the walkway underneath. For the trunk, the main block I use is the wooden pillar middle. These blocks blend into each other without a seam or a line, so they look really nice. They don't have the texture of some of the other wooden blocks, but I find it suits these trees really well. You can also paint the blocks if you want a different coloured trunk. I'm just using the blocks with their natural colour. I am building up the base of the trunk. I want it to look thick enough to look realistic, and often trees with large roots have a wider base. I am watching how square the base looks and trying to soften the edges so that I don't end up with a square looking trunk. This can be quite tricky to do when working with square blocks. I'm also making sure that the transmitter isn't viewable. I find the tiny corners that show the block behind them quite frustrating, and I wish that the blocks would join together better without leaving gaps. Building upwards using 2x2 blocks with magnet rise. Magnet rise makes this much quicker than placing single blocks. It can be done without magnet rise, but it would be a lot harder to do. I remove a few blocks along the sides of the trunk to reduce the square look of it. It is not exact, and I do remove some blocks and then realise that doesn't work, and I put them back. I just keep adjusting this as I build in order to get the trunk looking more natural. Taking a step back and looking from further away helps to give perspective on how the shape of the tree is working. And then you can adjust the shots that look too straight or too flat. It's not an exact process. I'm often going back and forth, just adjusting the shape as I go and seeing which block works in what spot. Before I keep building higher, I want to get the base of the roots looking good. I add in another root, so as there was a bit of a gap in the spread of the roots, so I thought that it would look better if there was another root coming down, because trees naturally spread their roots out quite evenly in order to distribute the weight of the tree and to hold it in the ground, especially during storms and things, so the roots are always pretty evenly spread out. I also want to soften the look of the ground by replacing the grass with moss blocks. Then adding in some wireless transmitters in the trunk of the tree so that I can have lights up in the canopy later on. Hiding the transmitter in a narrow trunk can be tricky. This second one that I put in could have gone a little higher, but I wanted one section of the trunk to be narrower, and then I adjusted the shape of the trunk around the transmitter. A lot of this build for the trunk is just adjusting the shape to reduce the square edges and solid sections of blocks that look flat. I start widening the area at the top of the trunk, as there will be 3 branches extending outwards. I build up the first branch. The shape looks a little bit odd at this point, but once the canopy is in place, it will look much better. You can also make the branches more horizontal depending on how you want the canopy to look. And once I'm happy with that branch, I move on to the second one. I don't want the second branch to be completely opposite to the first one, as I have to leave enough room for the third branch. I do find that when I initially started, I ended up having it a little bit too directly opposite diagonally, and I had to adjust it as I was building it to make it go more to the side. And I'm just building it up and watching the shape so that it doesn't look too square. Fairly similar shape to the first branch. And then I repeat this with the third branch. The third branch, I've actually make it a little bit shorter than the other branches, because it means that the canopy, when I'm building that, it doesn't all start at exactly the same level for all the three branches. This third branch, the canopy will start a little bit lower, and it'll add a little bit more variation and natural look to the canopy. Again, taking a step back and just seeing how the shape of the tree looks, and adjusting the roots again. Felt like I kept having to go back and fix little bits that I noticed that just weren't looking quite right. And once I was happy with the shape, I started decorating around the roots. I'm using grass, wildflowers, damp hedges, robust flowers, mountain flowers and cute flowers. I also add in some driftwood and boulders. The hedges are good for softening the edge of the grass against the wood. And sometimes I find that line is just a little bit too sharp, and then using the hedges and the grass as well is good for that, to sort of soften that edge. I am decorating up to where it starts flattening out a little bit, where I've got it still as grass. I will be decorating that area in another episode. I don't want to go too far out because I'm focusing just on the area around the tree roots for this video. I haven't put any glowing mushrooms around on this one, but that would look pretty cute, having some little glowing mushrooms in amongst the flowers. Just add little bits of light and little sparkles. I have a quick look around the base of the tree to make sure I like how it's looking. Then I start adding vines. I use magnet rise to harvest dense vines and hanging vines, as it makes it so much easier to place them. If you want to harvest lots of hanging vines, going to a Dragonite Dream Island is a great spot for hanging vines, as there's heaps there and you can just harvest them. Dense vines take a lot longer, as you have to create them using powered up leafage and then harvest them using magnet rise. The dense vines really soften the wood blocks in the trunk and the roots. It helps to reduce the square look that the blocks create, and you can also hang the hanging vines off of the blocks with dense vines, but only on the sides of the dense vine block. So you just have to pay attention to which direction you're facing when you're putting the dense vines down, because the hanging vines can only go to the side of that. I love how you can make such a beautiful overgrown look with these vines, and how the hanging vines can hang down without a block behind them. As long as they're connected at the top, you can make it look really overgrown and pretty. I'm very happy with how it's turned out. It will look so much better once the canopy is in place. I will be building the canopy in the next video and can't wait to show you how amazing this tree is going to look. It is quite different to the other tree builds I've seen in a lot of videos. It doesn't use trees like the trees that you grow from seeds, so you don't have to try and hide the look of the trunks or anything. It's pretty amazing. I'm pretty proud of how this tree build goes. I can't wait to show you the next one. It does take quite a bit of time to build the canopy, but it is definitely worth it. Thank you for watching my video. Hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to showing you the next one for part 2 for the canopy of the tree. Please like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next video. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.